Good. Call to order the Board of Education work session. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight we are going to have a presentation from Early Childhood Education by Jody and Ann, but Steve, you wanted to give a greeting first.
I will give a quick introduction, Mr. Chair, members of the board and administration. Today, Ann Trokel and Jody Wambach are here to talk about the early childhood offerings and the initiatives that we've got going on this school year. This has been quite a different school year for us from the early ed world. Last spring, we made a decision to invest in some new initiatives, and in doing so, we needed to invest in another person to assist Jody in doing that. So we took Ann Trokel out of the classroom. The last 8 years, she's been teaching our Cardinal Kids program, and we took her out of the classroom this year to assist Jody with a number of initiatives that they're going to go over with you folks today. Obviously, early ed is getting a lot of publicity. Not only at the local level here in Willmar, but the federal level. President Obama's got some proposals out there. Governor Dayton came with some proposals in his budget. So after years of much discussion, we're finally seeing some potential revenue and resources being put to early childhood. And the district, I think, made that commitment last year when they agreed to move Ann out of the classroom and to use some title dollars to invest in the work that Ann and Jody are doing this year. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the two of them, and they're going to talk a lot about not only our school-based programming that we're doing at Jefferson, but the community-wide and regional-wide type things that they're leading in this area. So without further ado, these two young ladies have done a fabulous job this year. They're working with many different entities and partnerships, and we hope in the long run, with the years to come, that we'll start seeing some major benefits, starting in the early ed world, but continuing through the K-12 system. So, yeah, Mr. Chair.
Very good.
All right.
It is yours.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for having us here today. We appreciate the time that you have allowed us to talk about our programming. And I am multitasking, so I have to run the presentation and talk. So, all right. Willmar Community Ed and Rec, we are one entity of Willmar Community Ed and Rec. And as you can see, there are many different programs Community Ed and Rec has. And what we are going to talk a little bit about today is our early childhood family programming. And we're going to talk just a little bit about some of the stuff that goes on at the school with the ECFE and school readiness and the screening, and spend a little bit more time on the new initiatives that we have started this year and some of the outcomes that we've had so far. So with our early childhood family education, or ECFE as some of you may know it, that is a program for parents and children to come to classes together. Be it a infant class, toddler class, or a multi-age class. A typical class looks like parents and kids coming in together. They have parent-child time. Then there's a separation time. Parents go and do parenting education with our parent educator. Children stay in the classroom with the child educator. And then they come back together at the end. We do classes on-site at Jefferson as well as off-site. We do have classes that we do at the library with the children's librarian. We have classes, or not a class so much, but we do have staff that are out at WEAC clinics visiting with our families that are attending their WEAC visits each month. Our parent educator does go out to the jail, and she does parenting education with the incarcerated, primarily dads, but she has seen some of the moms as well. Our parent educator also goes out to Jenny-O Turkey Store and visits with workers out there during their break time, and she's there as a resource for them. And then we do stuff monthly with Bethesda as well, parent-child events at Bethesda on a monthly basis. And then as far as our preschool programming, we have 3 different preschools that we run. We have our Kids Together preschool, we have our Creative Kids preschool, and our Cardinal Kids preschool. Cardinal Kids is our all-day, everyday preschool that is over at Kennedy, and the one that Ann had done up until this past year. That's all-day, everyday, runs the school year. Our Creative Kids preschool is our collaboration with Head Start and Early Childhood Special Ed. So we have a Head Start teacher and a regular ed teacher and a special ed teacher in there. And kids are half and half Head Start, half general general students, and then there are some ECSE students in there as well. And that room, we do need to follow the Head Start guidelines, and so that's been a little interesting as we've moved through the years trying to get that all worked out. And then our Kids Together program is a collaboration with ECSE, half-day programming, 2, 3, or 4-day a week programming. And as we talk a little bit more about some of the initiatives that we are working on, we'll talk a little bit about some of the new things that we've started in these programs. And then, of course, early childhood screening. And this is something that we do 2 times per month. We have 18 appointments each day. And so obviously our goal is to reach 100% of the kids before they enter kindergarten, but that's not always the case, because we always have students who move in over the summer, or families who, for whatever reason, just decide that they're not going to show up ever. So, but we work really hard and really diligently to try and get all of the little kiddos screened prior to them coming into the kindergarten. So now we're going to talk a little bit about some of the new initiatives that we are working on this year, and the first one is TRACK.
TRACK is a new program that we instituted this year, and almost everything in early childhood has an acronym. So TRACK is Teaching Responsible and Caring Kids. And so this social emotional framework is a way for our classroom teachers across the board and our families who participate to use a common language in teaching our children social emotional skills and strategies. So Minnesota is one of 4 states that is a part of the TAXI program, and TAXI is their acronym for, and by they I mean the U.S. Department of Ed and Office of Special Education, and they together have an office called Technical Assistance Center on Social Emotional Intervention for Young Children. So we were fortunate enough to have been chosen as a site, and so we're one of 27 programs in the state of Minnesota that's participating in the TAXI program. We just locally call it TRACK. That's the difference between the two. And so what's happening in our classrooms is, you have the next slide. Okay, so you can see this is kind of along that RTI type model where you're seeing a pyramid model. And what's happening is we're making sure that all of our staff is highly trained in child development and making sure that they understand the philosophies of the TRACK program. Then we go in that first tier and we make sure that our relationships are nurturing and responsive, and that our environments are as quality as they can be. Then we start to move to some very targeted instruction. So we're using things like Tucker the Turtle, who teaches the kids strategies through social stories. They hear about how Tucker deals with social emotional issues, and then those things can be referred to throughout the week. They use solution kits, which are little briefcases with 10 different pictures with solutions on them for when there's problems. They can go and get the solution kit and see which one of these strategies might work. And then things like visual schedules and just being in strong contact with parents. So in November we had a rollout event, and this is really primarily happening in our 3.5 through 5-year-old rooms, although we have invited anyone who participates, and actually we did a community-wide invitation to that event in November. And we have we want parents to get a hold of this information too, because when we work together we'll see those gains a lot quicker in the social emotional skills. And then our parent educator has been offering what we're calling TRACK Talks, and those TRACK Talks are also parallel to the strategies that they're using in the classroom, and ways that they can use visual schedules at home if they're finding that they're struggling with different things that are happening at their home. So that's primarily the TRACK program. Do you want to add?
Yep. Two of the other pieces to this is each classroom have done what's called a teapot, and I do not remember what that stands for.
I don't either.
But it is a classroom observation on kind of the social emotional interactions between staff. And we did one in the fall, we'll do one again in the spring. So by year end, we will have data to see what kind of growth we've made in the classrooms. And then also each parent has filled out an ASQSE, which is Ages and Stages Questionnaire, Social Emotional. And we also have that data that we will have at the end of the year to do a comparison to see how the kids have changed social emotionally as well. And then the other piece to this is with all of the things that we're talking about, there has been significant staff training, because I know Ann mentioned about training staff. It was 6 days of training for this program. And then as we talk about everything else we're doing, they had numerous other days that they needed to spend training. So, okay. Next, we want to move into Parent Aware. We are fortunate enough in Willmar to be a Parent Aware community. And Parent Aware is a quality rating system that parents can use to inform their decision in early care and education. And it began as a privately funded pilot project to address the fact that Minnesota kids were not ready for kindergarten. And so when the state was awarded the Early Learning Race to the Top grant, Parent Aware is the rating system that they chose in that grant that they would roll out across the state of Minnesota.
I would just add, Jody, that the pilot project was the MELF project, which was the Minnesota Early Learning Foundation. So you'd have heard potential discussion with that, especially related to the enrollment information and such. So that's the acronym that went into where the scholarship program started.
Thank you. And so by statewide, by 2015, it will be rolled out across the state. Everyone will be able to apply for the Parent Aware rating. And in Candy, Ohio, they actually will not be coming in until 2014, but we were chosen as one of 6 communities across the state to pilot Parent Aware. And this did not come without significant challenges. The first being that it's for accredited childcare, school readiness-based programming, and Head Start-based programming. We do not have an accredited childcare center in town, minus Loving Arms, who is accredited, but the state does not recognize that accreditation for the rating. So, yeah, nice.
It's a different rating.
It's different. Yeah, which is so incredibly frustrating. But we were chosen, and what we needed to do is figure out how we can expand our programming to meet the requirements of becoming a Parent Aware rated site. So what we did, we had many conversations, many phone calls, many meetings, and really talked about what would work in our community. And the one thing that we came up with is to work with some of our family child care providers and our center-based programming. And so we have developed partnerships with the YMCA Child Care and Suyokum's Family Child Care. We have set up contracts between the two of them. They are now what's called our school readiness satellite sites. So they follow all of the regulations that we need to follow within school readiness. So with the screening piece, the curriculum, the assessment piece, all of that is now, they have to abide by those rules as well. And we do have scholarship dollars that are tied to the rating. So currently, being a 4-star rated program, we are able to access up to 30 scholarships for up to $4,000 a piece. That makes sense, right?
For a student or a site?
For a student. Per student. So right now, between the school readiness and satellite sites and Head Start, we have access to 28 of the 30 scholarships. And this rating is good for 2 years, and this is actually a project between MDE and DHS. So we're working very closely with Child Care Aware in helping the satellite sites become rated on their own once it rolls out in 2014 so that they can get their own rating. And then we've also had lengthy discussion about pulling in another center and another family child care to be additional satellite sites. Because really the goal is to try and help. We want an even playing field for everybody, and so that's Parent Aware is the start of a really big thing, I think.